I've been asked regarding my maintenance of my tomatoes, whether I prune them. I do and I don't. That is depending on how rich the soil is and how is the weather factor, because that really contributes to the growth of any plant. I do my tomato and any plant maintenance accordingly. So now the sucker, it is said, takes the energy from the main stem and the fruits. And as I said, not necessarily, depending on how rich the soil is and how healthy the plant is. And as you can see right here, this is these are the leaves, and this is the main stem right here. And in between that, right here, that's a sucker. Now this is unestablished, I would say unestablished tomato, because as you can see, it's already been putting out some fruits right there, and pretty much putting out a lot of flowers. So at this point, I find this sucker here not really needed, and so that's a little tough. That's how sturdy and healthy the plant is, so I'm gonna take that one out. This here is a sucker, and right there you can see that there's all kinds of blooms going on there. And here is the top of this stem. So again, I am going to prune that stem that sucker right there. Let me see if I could just pinch this off. Okay, so that's one sucker, which to me is not necessarily needed at this point. From down here, as you can see, there are fruits already, and if you follow that where I cut the sucker off right there, on top of that there are more blooms, and right here, that is the top of the main stem, and it's still going. And here is another thing that I do as far as maintenance of my tomato. As you can see, this is the bottom of this tomato plant here, and I have to right about now start trimming some of these leaves at the bottom. The reason for that is that it increase or improve the airflow and promote healthier growth. Not to mention, one very important thing is that you minimize the chance of any kind of leaf blight or any, excuse me, I'm getting a little crowded here myself. And by pruning the bottom leaves, you are then minimizing the chance of leaf blight or any other diseases that might infect your tomato plant. So that's another thing that I have to do as far as pruning my tomato, I cut out the bottom leaves. Pardon me, I'm sure I'm not in focus here. But I will continue to prune this and get rid of a lot of these bottom leaves, which are starting to show sign of, I guess, I don't know, leaf blight, or maybe just a natural process, pruning process of what are old, those are the old leaves, which, I don't know, can you see that? Well, anyway, so that's what I do. I will continue to prune this tomato. The bottom leaves are going to come off to improve the air circulation, and as you can see, this one here, you see all of the leaves that I cut out from that, and this is just this one side, and there's a lot more to go all around this bed, and I will go around this entire bed here to prune all the dead leaves, older growth. Oops, excuse me, I have to get up, I'm on my knee. And I will be, this one, I have, this bed here, I have pretty much taken just about all the unnecessary, let me see, all the unnecessary, okay, there goes one right there. You see that? Right here. I don't believe this sucker there is needed, so I cut it out. So what it does is, it doesn't necessarily deplete the main stem or the plant of the nutrition that it needs in order to grow healthy and vigorous and feed the fruit, but what it will do is concentrate the nutrient to those that are already existing, the fruits, existing flowers, and as you can see, it's pretty much is loaded with blooms, and you look closer, you will see that. Okay, take a look at this, practically a tomato tree. So here's another factor why I would prune my suckers. As you can see, this tree, this tomato is actually my overwintered tomato, and we have been picking tomato from here while waiting for the tomatoes that are outside. Now, this is a sucker right here, as you can see, and because this tomato is really well established and it's just doing its own thing, put out as much fruit as he wants to put out and blooms as much as he wants to, and there is really no need for it to continue growing bigger than than it is right now. So this sucker here, I have no need for this, and so in order for this plant to concentrate a lot of its energy into existing fruits and to nourishing the entire plant, this is one of the reasons why I would prune the sucker out. Okay, and as you can see, it's a well-established plant. Fruits everywhere, and blooms are continuously just coming out. So this plant here, it's doing pretty much whatever it wants to do, and all I'm doing now is kind of control the height and the growth, because as you can see, look up there, you see that it's touching the roof. My husband will prune this weekend to prevent it from growing any taller. I don't believe there's any need for that to grow that tall, and if it's gonna grow any fruit, it will pretty much do it somewhere else and don't have to be that high up there on the roof. So that's one of the reason why I would prune my tomatoes. This is not an established tomato plant, but this is how I determine whether I should keep or prune the sucker, because some of the sucker really is not needed. There is no need to keeping them if there are other suckers that show signs of vigor and health. Now take a look at this. You see this sucker here? This sucker is pretty much the same diameter as the main stem right there. This is a sucker. Here is the leaves, the cluster of leaves in this stem, and here's the main stem, as you can see, with the bloom, and this here is a sucker. But this sucker is a very healthy, vigorous looking sucker. It's pretty much the same diameter as the main stem. Now if you look below that, right here, this is one of the sucker, and here's another sucker just right below that. And to me, this sucker is less healthier, and therefore I'm going to take the sucker out, giving this healthy, vigorous looking sucker a chance to really benefit from the nutrient, that the main stem distribute. So, and here is another one, which is an even shorter, smaller tomato plant, and as you can see, it's putting out blooms. And let's look at all the suckers coming out of this tomato plant. Down here at the base, as you can see, there's a very healthy looking stem there, and here's another one, a very healthy looking stem, and here's another one, which is a very, very healthy candidate for keeping. And because it's on a very early stage of growth, all the sucker will stay in the plant. But if you look very carefully right here, this sucker doesn't look as healthy as that right there. And because right after this sucker here, there is another very healthy looking sucker right here, I see no need to keeping this. So this one I will pinch top. So that's pinched off of the main stem, and I have kept that sucker there, right there, and I'm keeping the very nice and healthy looking sucker there as well. Okay, so I hope this helped some of you that might have a question on how I maintain my tomato, and I will continue to show any process or method that I do with my plant, especially my tomato, as far as growing them in order to keep them growing healthy, maintaining them without sacrificing the production of the fruits. And I showed you in this video how I do away with some of the suckers and keep those that I feel is not posing any kind of threat to the growth and the health of the plant.